new in the school, okay? So we welcome you. I hope you find other peer parents who are in your group. Meet up, get to know someone else that's in your grade level, because they'll be a great person to text back and forth to get moral support, things like that, okay? Also, has anybody gone to a parent forum today? Has anybody? Okay, maybe yours is a little bit later. Or if you want to rely on some veteran parents too, that would be good to be a friend with a parent that's been here for a while. They can help give you support. And then who are my teachers in the room? I see Dr. Martin. Anybody else? Dr. Madison? Okay. Teachers have inside scoops, so get to know them too. They know something maybe the general public wouldn't know. I don't know. So I'm happy to be talking to you about composition. Again, it is a critical piece for our students. We want them to grow and learn how to be effective communicators, right? They do this through their writing, their body language, their oral speaking skills, all kinds of ways. But we want them to be able to communicate well, in order and logical progression. And so that is what we're talking about today. I want you to know that the English department has created a specific profile of a graduate for the English department, okay, the English students themselves. And I want to just review these. First of all, what do they mean by critical thinkers in English? They mean that they can demonstrate critical thinking and analyze a variety of different kinds of texts, okay? Maybe it's an essay they're reading. Maybe it's an advertisement they're looking at. Maybe it's a piece of literature that's been around for a long time. Maybe it's poetry. So can they analyze it different ways? Can they self-monitor the learning process and create individual strategies to assist tackling difficult tasks and texts? Okay? So much of the literature that comes home can be more difficult. We're thinking about that. You know, the language, it may not have even been written in English originally and has been translated, okay? So when we're thinking about this, we're not just sending the piece home and saying, read 45 pages, right? We're thinking, can they handle 10 pages of this very difficult text and language? And so the English department's thinking about that. How are they able to break those pieces down so that they can understand them themselves? Understand and apply contextual influences, motives, purposes, points of view, and strategies of authors. So let's say they're reading St. Augustine. Well, when was he around, right? This is early church history. And the context of when he was writing, the whole world was a very different place, right? So they need to have an understanding of when was this written, what was going on in the culture, what was happening at the time, were there wars going on, what was happening with the nobility, what was happening with those that were had no rights and had no ability to choose for themselves anything. So we want them to be thinking about all of those things when they take a text and analyze it. Effective communicators, can they clearly and effectively express ideas, both written and verbal, so that use sophisticated and appropriate vocabulary and syntax according to the formality of the setting and task. So our students today, many of them, you know, they're texting, they're writing in sort of this informal sort of way where they don't consider spelling, syntax, where they don't consider punctuation, things like that. When we're talking about the formal classroom, we are not writing that way. We are not using colloquial language in our written compositions, right? We're taking a more formal tone, unless the task is some kind of quick advertisement where you're grabbing the reader's attention quickly. So the English department's thinking about this. They want the students to skillfully utilize and synthesize information from multiple sources to support their position, right? So kids have to be able to read maybe 2 chapters in 2 different books, and then look at several internet resources that are reliable and reasonably offered, that aren't just some propaganda or Wikipedia or something like that. But they have to be able to take that information, put it together, organize something, and basically write their paper down, right? So we're thinking about all those things. Christ-centered relationships. how does that work itself out in the English classroom? So we want them to connect and relate to thematic elements and truth expressed in literature to society and to his or her own spiritual walk with Christ. So we're thinking about the human condition, the human situation in pieces, and then having them see, how does that apply to my own life and the decisions that I'm making? So the English class, along with the history class, those are humanities. Those are the departments that are getting the kids to really think about big ideas too. So it's very important that they learn to express themselves appropriately through composition. And then finally, do they understand the worldview, the perspective that is coming through from the author of that specific piece? So those are things we're talking about a lot. Eventually they'll start to identify worldviews. Is this a postmodern worldview? Is this an atheistic worldview? Is this you can find everything within yourself worldview, right? Or do you need the Lord to change you? So we're trying to get them to reflect in those ways when we're dealing with literature, and also see that kind of thinking going on in their compositions when they're composing. Okay? So let's move forward. I talked about this in the earlier session. Does anybody want to try to address this particular
I do.
slide?
Basically, in Genesis, the Lord says, be fruitful and multiply, which this school does a very good job of, by the way. Beautiful, huge families. But I was taught at DBU that it also means just be an architect, create
Design,
music,
create.
It is. It's not just about having babies. It's about creating. It's reflecting the Creator.
Yes. And I think that's even well said, Mrs. Smith, because when we talk about truth, beauty, and goodness, we are talking about basically characteristics and qualities that are integral to God. And because we are made in His image, which I think is another place we could go in talking about the image that students have of themselves in light of what God believes about them. But what did He say about creation? That it is good. He made it beautifully. But then we have all of these truths that are first the truth about God, the truth about ourselves, and then what we see borne out in Scripture. When we make these choices, what happens? There's a consequence for the choices we make. And so when we're talking about the English department, when we're talking about writing, we really want the students to have a redemptive sort of strand that moves through their writing, so everything's just not dark and dreadful and there's no hope for tomorrow. We want to make sure that we guide them in ways not to make them robots and give us what we want, but to make them think about, why are you thinking this way about this subject? And then to help them in building composition pieces, whatever kind they are, whether they're fiction, nonfiction, an analysis or whatever, but they're thinking about these notions within their writing. So I expect that if I put together a poetry anthology from my students at CLPS, they're not always going to be dark or depressing. They might have some sad days, because that's the reality of who we are as humans, but not all of those pieces will be like, they all want to commit suicide tomorrow. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so I'm thinking about this when we're thinking about composing and creating. And it's an important piece, because even in the computer science department here, the students have projects that they work on. They design, they create, they do these things. And I talk about these notions to my computer science teachers too, because I want to see them designing things that bring life and bring hope and bring joy to people and make things more beautiful in whatever way they're creating and designing. And so I want you to know that this is a conversation that I'm having in the English department. This is, we are reading The Abolition of Man together as an English department by C.S. Lewis. Anybody can pick that up. It's about 3 chapters long. It's difficult reading because he writes at a level that is is more college level oriented, but he has a good argument, and he's talking about the way we teach writing. And he definitely includes these ideas in the way we're teaching writing, that there is an objective truth and reality. And that is found in God, who and exemplified in Jesus Christ in his life. That there is dark and light. It really exists. It's not just, we're not just thinking for ourselves, but we believe something, we have something to hang our hats on about where humans are in life and what they need. Okay? So I wanted you to know about this as far as composition goes. The next piece is, it will be a repeat for the little guys, but this is the way that we think about teaching composition. Okay? So we expect a number of things. When our teachers get up in front of the English class, they're going to be making sure that when they teach composition, they'll be teaching composition on Mondays this year. So that is their designated composition day. They'll probably help and support on Wednesday and Friday, but the whole hour is to be dedicated to composition and supporting the students. So they will always provide a quality mentor text. And what that means is they're going to be using a piece of literature or an example that shows quality writing in that area in about whatever they're talking about, right? It shows a quality piece of writing. I'll talk about this group in a second. They will always try to, and very much in 7th through 12th grade, they integrate literature with the composition. So they're using the literature as a springboard to move into the composition assignment that they're giving. That they'll always provide a rubric so the students will know what the expectations are. They should know what should be included. And last year in 9th and 10th, we were using more of a classical, a very staunchly classical method. This year, I'll show you in just a minute, we have basically have organized the composition program in a more traditional way, but we're using classical methodology to do it, okay? And then we use MLA format. If you don't know what that is, let me know. I have posted 2 tutorials about MLA format on the Family Weebly site, so you can go there and view those. They're about 6 minutes apiece. MLA format, you don't have to format anything anymore. Do you guys know that? Word and Google Docs, they do this for you. So I don't expect necessarily that half of you all are helping your kids format at home because they already know how to do it. But half of you maybe have a 7th grader, an 8th grader, or a new student coming in, and they're going to need some parental support. And so if you need that support, there are a lot of tutorials online, but I'll help you guys with that. Okay, don't feel alone in that method. You don't have to type out the author and the copyright date and all that stuff. This Word and Google Docs, they do that for you. Okay, so just know that. We will provide student samples of prior years if we have those available, good student exemplars, so they kind of know what the expectation is and the quality and the level at which the piece should be written. Okay, so that'll help you. We will, on Mondays, they will have student practice under the teacher's supervision. So the teacher will attend to their work and give feedback at that time. Okay? They'll be giving detailed feedback. Many of the teachers are using, they're all using Google Classroom this year, and they can annotate right on the piece. So if you need to see what the teacher has said to your student, you just have them pull it up, you'll see all the annotations from the teacher. Okay? So they're doing that all the way along the process. So, recognize that if your students aren't attending to that feedback, they're not going to perform that well, or they're not gaining the skill and knowledge they need to move forward. So please help them. If you ever sit down with your student and they're saying, I need this essay written by tomorrow, somewhere the communication has definitely broken down. We are not a school where you have to work 4 hours on a paper the night before. They should be doing a little bit at a time and getting feedback along the way. Okay? So make sure you look at it. I had a parent come in at the end of the year last year, and they told me, well, he had to write this such and such and all this stuff, and I said, okay, where are all the drafts? Where are all the comments from the teacher? I don't know where that is. Well, you should have it, okay? I'm being very serious. You need to look at the feedback that the teacher is giving to the student and make those changes as you go along, okay? It'll make your life a lot better, much less stress. We want you to have good relationships. So please complete the composition assignments as they are assigned, okay? I think that's it. Weekly composition goals. The lesson I'm going to do, if we have time in just a minute, one of the goals will be students will be able to integrate quotes seamlessly into their paper. Okay, that's the lesson I'm going to do in just a second. So this weekly composition goal, it will be listed explicitly for the student. So they'll come in on Mondays. There should be 1 to 3 goals for that composition day that the student knows what those goals are. All right? So they should be very clear on what's expected from them in that composition lesson. I'm not going to talk a lot about this, but I just want you to know that you need to be dialoguing with your student. You need to have a plan for composition before you start the assignment. Especially, I'm just going to talk to the 7th and 8th grade parents. If you've got ones at middle school kids are scattered in their minds. They're thinking about 400 things at one time. They have, they're putting stresses on themselves. Other things are stressing them. And they need to have a good plan before they go into that place of working on their assignment for composition. So please discuss their strategy before moving into composition, okay? And then always have them read their composition aloud to you. This is a practice we use in the class too. We want them to hear what their sentences are sounding like, what their paragraph is sounding like. Are they staying on topic? Are they, is everything making sense? So please get into this practice. It's really good. The first time I ever did that was with my freshman composition professor at TCU. Read something out loud. And right then, I knew this is horrible. It was written, the whole thing was written in passive voice. So, but I didn't have, the kinds of composition instruction that our kids have today. So I'm just telling you, reading it out loud is a really good practice for you to get into with your kids. And they're not going to want to do it. They don't want to do it with each other in the class, but we have them use this practice also. So please do that. Help them improve as they go along. I don't want you to write the paper for them. Do not do that. You are not serving your student well when you do that. You need to have them write it. You need to help and support as needed. Some of you all that are in here, your students write beautifully already. So all you can do is just push them to the next level. Make sure they're word processing and they have typing skills. They should by 7th grade. I mean, they need to be able to type out 4 paragraphs and be good to go. Okay? So you get them those skills. I just wanted to show you, so we've been working really carefully on our scope and sequence for composition. We've done a lot of curriculum development for composition in grades 7 through 12 this summer. And basically, we have actually a week-by-week plan, but this is just the monthly plan. I want you to understand that they're going to be writing different genres of composing of papers. And then they also, there is another piece that's not really reflected here, but they have timed writings when they get into 7th through 12th grade. And we have a certain number that we do per semester, per each grade level. And those timed writings, they basically have 2 functions. One is to prepare them for all of their college entrance exams. Let's see if it comes back to life. It sounds like it's a projector thing and not a cord. Anyway, 2 functions. Let's see if it will come back. The first is to get ready for college entrance exams because they're timed on those. And they have to be able to invent, so they have to be able to brainstorm, they have to be able to organize, and then they have to be able to write. The most they're given, I think, is 50 minutes, 50. and the least amount of time is about 35 minutes on those college entrance exams. So they need to know what they need to do. They need to be able to draft out their plan and then do that. And of course we want to, if they're headed to university, we want to give them that opportunity, right? So the next piece is that all through college, they will have, and even here on exams, they have a certain amount of time to respond. And so they need to be able to put together a well-organized, well-drafted response the first time without word processing, handwriting, right? So that is the function of those timed pieces. And we look at, like I'll talk more about this tomorrow, but I will be a sub for Mrs. Blair for a little bit of time here in August. And does anybody have Mrs. Blair, your students? Anyone? Okay, 11 and 12. And we will actually look at prior student samples to see how those were scored, and I'm going to let them score them also and think about how the student constructed their essay, why it was a strong essay or not. Okay, so they'll have time analyzing other people's work, but that's why we have those timed writings along with these more formal pieces. The next thing I wanted to show you is we also are thinking about the components that are integral to an English language arts class. You'll see these are Mrs. Moore's guides. And so you see in 7th and 8th grade, they have literature, writing, grammar, and vocabulary. So they have 4 major components that they're working on. Vocabulary also includes spelling at the 7th and 8th grade level. And so you can see she's got her literature kind of mapped out. She's got the kind of writing. All of the students will start with MLA format the first about 2 to 4 weeks, depending on how strong they are. All of the classes will, basically. So I expect juniors and seniors not to need that much help with MLA formatting, but they do sometimes, and so we'll support them in that. So we'll start with that, start working on their first writing piece. You can see that she has a plan for grammar and what they're going to do, what they're going to be covering, and then she has a plan for vocabulary. And she's looking at it side by side to make sure that we are moving and going to be able to accomplish the goals we have for the English 7 class and the English 8 class. So we have these for all the different levels of English 7 through 12. So in literature, this is 2nd semester, this is 8th grade. So you can see the literature that they're using, the kind of writing they're doing. So I just want you to know that they have a plan, they're thinking about the components and what needs to be covered, and it's been carefully planned and organized to do that and accomplish what we need to accomplish. Okay, you'll get the details about that. I wanted to let you guys know also that what we did in order to design our composition program in English is go to university research and see what the composition professors were saying about what is lacking when a student comes in as a freshman to college. Okay, so we started that process some years ago, and we've been building on that since we really did that research to see how can we teach our students to write well, with ease, with comfort, and not be afraid if they're asked to, build a 12-page paper out, that doesn't scare them, but they feel comfortable with that. Okay. So one of the pieces that we are using that's a linchpin for our program is this Kilgallen approach, which is a sentence composing approach. And what it means is that research shows that the students need to be able to construct well-designed sentences first, so they can build out well-designed paragraphs, so then they can build out well-designed papers. Okay, so it starts at the sentence level. Can they take a simple sentence, the cat ran, and begin to build around that complexity until they get variation in their sentences, until they're using prepositional phrases or figurative language or other things, so that then when you put a full paragraph together, it does have that topic sentence that's so important. But then everything else builds around that. So we start with a sentence. If any of your students are in the composition class this year, it isn't just a writing lab class, and we will start at the sentence level. We'll show a lot of good examples of sentences, and then we'll take simple sentences and begin to build those sentences out. So this is really important, and they have, this one's the middle school, they have one for high school, they have master level, they have all of these different levels of these Kilgallen programs. You're welcome to get the book on Amazon too and just look at it yourself. It has beautiful examples of classic literature, well done work, so the kids really can learn from this sentence composing approach. All right, I talked about the MLA tutorials. I'll just show you real quick where you can find this. So if you go to parent training, you scroll all the way down to the bottom. These are my little videos, and they're about 6 minutes in length. They're not too long. So you can see how to format a Google Doc in MLA format in Google Docs and for Word. Okay? So a lot of your students are already doing this well. It's not going to be a big issue, but I just wanted to show you where those were. And then, is this going off the, I don't know what's happened. Looks like it's not centered. Okay, to go by a piece that was done by a professional writer. Okay, hit and run, quotation, quote bomb, floating quote. You know, this person just threw this in here. Why is this not good? Right? So she's giving them a quality piece, and then she's saying, here's a piece that's not done well. So let's compare and contrast the two. Why is this one not done well, and why is this one done well? So we're analyzing the actual piece, right? We're analyzing the composition. And then, you know, you can make a quotation sandwich. How do you do that? She talks a little bit about that. And then practice. Okay, students, this is what we're going to do. So under teacher supervision, students, we're going to take these and we're going to make better sentences, and we're going to compose quality sentences using quotes. Okay, so they're practicing under teacher supervision. Then when they go home, on their satellite day at home, then they're going to be working on integrating quotes into their paper, right? That will be the satellite day practice. So she keeps going, and this is, we did this in one of our English workshops this summer, and it was, I think she said it was a 3-lesson day. So I know she would have to take 3 hours to work this out, okay? Class hours. So I think that is the last part. Yep, and if you guys have any questions or want to talk further, it looks like we have about 10 minutes. So I'm happy to take questions. Anybody brave? You guys are tired, it's getting to the end of the day, but happy to help. Questions? Yeah?
Can you show us that book again? I just want to make sure I wrote the name down right.
Paragraphs. This one is Paragraphs for Middle School, a Sentence Composing Approach. Do you want me to write it on the board?
I just wanted his name.
Are these slides online?
They will be. She's videoed this presentation and the slides will be recorded.
Kill, double L, and gallon.
I'll spell it.
I looked it up on Amazon.
Yeah, I think it's a husband, where the markers are. Okay. So paragraphs for middle school, and Dawn and Jenny Kilgallen, Killgalllon. Okay, really good stuff in here. So good. And this is the specific student text. They probably have teacher stuff and things like that, but we're actually just using the student text. So, but this won't come home with your students. We're using that support. Go ahead.
There is a plagiarism section in the handbook, but there isn't a module. Is that?
There isn't a module right now? Okay, I thought they put, actually, no, it's not true. Dr. Tarpley has posted one.
Oh.
So what you guys need to do is, somebody needs to email me that, but that definitely needs to go out because you need to understand what plagiarism is. Your students will be responsible. I think there are some questions. Who's done the plagiarism module? Anybody? Is it just the students then? Okay. Maybe it's just the students that are going through the module. You guys
Can you
need
put it on
to.
weekly?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We can easily. So let me look. So these digital modules. How to. Let me see what's on the how-to page. So if any of you guys, this is all here. Accessing RenWeb, looking at your schedule, using Shirley Grammar, purchasing, student email, PlayPosit. Where is that? It's not here. We can easily post it though. It's just a link.
Is it under like that?
Let me look. Where do you think it is?
Go under more and it says like